Okay, let's dive right in. There's a massive shift happening in the world of real estate and infrastructure. And honestly, it's completely changing the game, redefining how companies are judged and, maybe more importantly, where billions of investment dollars are actually going to flow. We're talking about the new rulebook for ESG, or environmental, social, and governance. You know, for the longest time, a fancy, glossy sustainability report was pretty much all you needed. It was how you showed the world you cared about ESG. Well, I'm here to tell you that era is completely over. Today, your credibility isn't about what you say in your own report. Nope. It's all about a powerful external system that uses hard, comparable data to score, well, pretty much your every move. And this right here really nails the shift. We've literally gone from these subjective, voluntary reports that, let's be honest, were almost impossible to compare side by side, to a whole new world of standardized investor-grade scores. And these are not just for show. I mean, these scores are being used right now to make huge financial decisions. So what's at the heart of this whole thing? It's called GRESB. Now, GRESB started out as more of a peer benchmark, but today, it's the primary ESG reference point for global capital markets. Think about it. When the world's biggest pension funds, insurers, and lenders are deciding where to put their money, this is the tool they're turning to.
All right, so let's get beyond the dusty policy binder on the shelf. What does this thing really measure? Because it's definitely not about just having a perfectly written policy. It's about something way deeper. And as you're about to see, that's exactly why nailing a high GRESB score is so much harder than it looks.
Okay, so GRESB basically breaks its evaluation into two core parts. Think of it as what you say versus what you do. On one side, you've got the management indicators. This is all your policies, your governance, your systems, basically your promises. But then on the other, and frankly more important side, you have the performance indicators. This is the proof. It's your actual results, your energy use, your emissions trends, your data quality.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. For an investor, a big gap between your good intentions and your actual results is a huge red flag. Seriously, if you have all these amazing policies on paper but your performance numbers are flat, they don't see ambition, they see execution risk. They see a company that can't actually deliver on its own strategy.
So this brings us to the million-dollar question, right? Where does it all go wrong? Let's dig into how this disconnect, this gap between policy and performance, actually plays out, and uncover the common pitfalls that get so many companies stuck with scores that just won't budge.
You know, one of the biggest things GRESB is brutally good at exposing is fragmented ownership inside a company. You'll see the sustainability team design this incredible framework, right? But then the asset managers, the people on the ground who actually control the buildings and hold all the data, they're not really involved or held accountable. And just like that, the whole system breaks down. You end up with messy data and, you guessed it, poor performance.
And that really gets to the core of it. GRESB isn't just another reporting exercise you hand off to someone to fill out. It is a fundamental test of your operations. It's asking a very simple question. Does your ESG talk actually influence your business decisions? Does it change how you spend your capital, which assets you upgrade, or how you structure your leases? If the honest answer is no, well, your score is going to reflect that reality, plain and simple.
Okay, so the challenge is pretty clear, but look, it's not impossible to solve. There is a path forward, so let's talk about the playbook, a practical framework for shifting your whole mindset away from just compliance and checking boxes to one that's laser-focused on driving real, tangible performance.
And this is way more than just a checklist, it's really an entire operating model. It all starts with step 1, map reality. That means being brutally honest about what data you have, what you don't, and what you actually control. Then, step 2 is to align accountability. This is huge. It means actually embedding ESG goals into the job descriptions and the KPIs for your asset management teams. And only after you've done that can you really get to step 3, optimize performance. This is where you focus on improving the actual metrics and, just as crucial, articulating the story behind that data. All right, now that we have the playbook, let's look at this whole process through the most important lens there is, the investors. It's time to step into their shoes and really understand how they interpret everything you submit. So when an investor gets your GRESB data, what are they actually looking for? I can tell you, they are not just reading your claims. They are actively digging in, looking for signals. They're trying to find clues that point to either risk or maturity. So let's look at a real-world example. You might say you have these really strong decarbonization targets. Sounds great, right? But if an investor looks at your asset-level data and sees it's all over the place, inconsistent and patchy, they don't see your ambition. What they see is a massive red flag that screams execution risk.
Okay, but now let's flip that around. Imagine you're totally transparent. You say, look, we only have partial tenant data right now, which is a super common problem. But you follow it up by showing a clear, proactive plan to engage with those tenants to get better data. You know what an investor sees then? Not a weakness. They see maturity. They see transparency. They see a team that knows how to manage a real-world challenge.
And that's really the key takeaway. GRESB is set up to reward maturity and transparency way more than it rewards perfection. Having an honest plan to tackle your challenges is so much more valuable than pretending you don't have any.
And of course, GRESB itself is always evolving. It has to keep up with the market. When we look at what's coming next, there's a huge push towards climate risk and resilience. We're talking about going beyond just tracking emissions and starting to really focus on how prepared your actual buildings are for physical risks, things like flooding, wildfires, and extreme heat.
So when you boil it all down, mastering GRESB isn't really about reporting data or filling out a form. It's about building investor trust. It's about fundamentally rewiring your operations to turn real ESG performance into the kind of credibility that the market rewards.
Which leaves us with one final, and I think pretty critical question you should be asking yourselves. Is your organization built just to report, or is it built to perform? Because in this new rulebook we've been talking about, the answer to that question is going to define everything.